It's time for the Blazor Power Hour.
Welcome to the Blazor Power Hour.
Introducing the Blazor Power Hour.
No, seriously, it's time for Blazor Power Hour.
Hey friends, it's time for the Blazor Power Hour.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the Blazor Power Hour.
You're checking out the Blazor Power Hour.
Welcome to the Blazor Power Hour.
It's Blazor Power Hour. Go Ed!
Are you ready? Are you set? Got everything all ready to go? Let's do it. Let's do the Blazor Power Hour.
All right. Hello and welcome to the Blazor Power Hour. I'm Ed Charbonneau, and that is the most amazing intro ever. This is the show where the intro is always better than the content, but you keep coming back anyway. No, this week we're going to do a little bit of a mashup here. We've got the Hack for Good Challenge, the Worthy Web App Challenge. It's a hackathon that we're running here at Progress. We've got over 1,000 participants entered, and there are just 12 days left until the apps are submitted. So we've been doing shows all during the hackathon to promote different things that can be done in your hackathon application. The last time I was on talking about the hackathon, we did a show about web accessibility. We had Krista Mars here. It was fantastic. This week, we're going to talk about the Telerik UI grid for Blazor. This is a really great way to get data up on your application, manage data in a portal like an admin section for your app, or just a great way to display lots of data to your users. So I want to show the bare bones way to get in there and get the grid set up, and also show how you can tweak the grid and add things to it to customize it. So if you're part of the Worthy Web App Challenge and you're using Blazor, hopefully you learned something here today. We may have covered some of this on the show before, but there are new features for the data grid for Telerik. So you should learn something new today because we just dropped new bits for our release that is coming out today. And welcome, Chris and Scott. Glad to have you, friends. Welcome back. So first up, if you're not part of the hackathon, you can still get in there. If you're a app guru, you can jump in there and submit your app in the next 12 days and be part of the contest. There's lots of free trials available. There's lots of prizes that we're awarding to teams that submit the best app under different categories. So if you're looking for the best use of Telerik UI for Blazor, you've come to the right place because I'm going to show you some tips here. I'm going to assume that you already have a Telerik UI for Blazor app set up, but if you don't, it's really easy through Visual Studio. One thing that you can do is just use the Visual Studio templates for this. I'll show the templates real quick just to give you an idea of where to find them. Once you have your free trial installed, you're going to want to click on Create a New Project. And this is a perfect time for Visual Studio to hang on me. There it goes. You'll click on Start a New Project, select Telerik C# Blazor application, hit Next, and just walk through the wizard to create your application. If you're already past this point, which I'm assuming you may be by now, you may have already done this, but it's also a good place to just get a good demo of what the grid can do. So go ahead and just fire one of these up for a WebAssembly or server, and then create your application there. So that's how you can get the bits installed. If you're already working with a project that has Blazor enabled, just follow the docs. It's really simple. It's like 3 or 4 steps to get the components installed in your app. I've got an application where they're already installed here, and you can see that I am on the latest version that just dropped today. This is 2.24.0. So there is a new feature in this that I'm going to show in just a moment. So this is a brand new project that I just created to demo some things off today. I did slightly modify the weather forecast that comes with a demo app of Blazor, just so it's not totally random every time we start the application. It will persist some data, so it's not just bouncing all over the place. Probably more than you need to know. We've got the typical client-server type of Blazor WebAssembly app. So this is my client application. I have a server, and then there's some shared stuff, which is basically just an object that both the client and server use to display some weather forecast data, which is just kind of demo randomized data. And then on my index page, I've got the obligatory fetch some data from a web endpoint, and that's going to grab my weather forecast data. So if we go ahead and let's jump into the command line and run this in a mode that it will keep updating when we are working on the app. So first thing I want to do is jump over to the server side of the client, because that's where the app runs from. And my console is not working. So it's half typing inside of the editor and the console, so it can't make up its mind where it wants to do that. All right, let's try that again. PowerShell, focus on, there we go. There we go. So Visual Studio does some weird stuff sometimes. I want to go over to my server part of my application and do .NET run watch run. And we're going to run the application in watch mode. So every time we make an update, make an edit, the app will update in the browser for us, and we don't have to keep reloading the application. So here's our typical demo scenario, right? We've got a data page that's displaying a bunch of data, and it's in this data table, which just spews all of the data out to the screen. So this is not quite ideal. We want to have things like paging and sorting and filtering and all of those things in this data table and make it more of a data grid. I like to make a distinction there between data table just shows data in a table, where a data grid lets you drill into data, sort data, filter data, page it. We need a data grid here. So this is basically just regular HTML at this point. It's running a Blazor template on an HTML table. It's got a head. If we add new things, let's say we want to add an ID here, we'd have to update the table head. Then we say ID, and this is just a string here. And then we do the following. This is for the table body, and every table row, we need to create a row for that piece of data. So we say forecast dot ID, and then we can write the ID out there. And if we hit save and go back to our page, you'll see it reload here with an ID column. So that's about the extent of what we can do with the HTML data table. What I want to do is replace all of this markup. Even this loading statement I can get rid of with the Telerik UI data grid. So I'm going to wipe all of this out. We can keep the text there, that's fine. But let's take this and just wipe the whole thing out. I'm going to save the app just so you can see when I go back, that page is now blank. We don't have any of the data being written out. And I'm going to shorten this all up just with a Telerik UI grid. So I'm going to say Telerik grid. I'm going to point it at the same data. We're fetching some data from an HTTP, web RESTful endpoint. That code is in the bottom here. I can show you that in a second. But for all intents and purposes, that HTTP endpoint pulls back a list of weather forecasts, and those are in an array. So if I just say forecasts here, and we're going to end this tag, and I still managed to spell that wrong. There we go. So I can say Telerik grid data forecasts, and then I'm going to put on here auto-generate columns. This is a really good feature if you just want to one-for-one display all of the data that is in that the results from that web request. So if you have a data table that's in a database, or it's in document storage, it's in Cosmos DB, any of those type of things. You just want to throw that data up on the page. This is all the code you need. Just one line, two properties. We've got where's our data coming from, and go ahead and generate all of the columns for that data. The weather forecasts, they just get stored in this array. And to fetch them, we're going to call HTTP get from JSON async. We're returning a weather forecast array from this endpoint. It's really simple code. We've got one line of markup and 2 lines of actual code here. So I'm going to save that, and we'll go back. And now we have a fully populated data grid. It still doesn't have a bunch of features attached to it, but we are showing all of the data from that table just automatically, just displaying their columns that come from the property names and the data that's associated with it. So I don't have to go in there and define every single column and update the header and the data row and try to keep those things synced up if that's all I'm trying to do. I do have full control over all that, which we'll see in just a second, if I want to dive deeper and customize this data grid. But let's add some more stuff first. So first of all, let's make sure that we're not scrolling 100 and something records at a time here. Let's make this a little bit more comfortable for the user so they don't have to scroll up and down. You can see about 15 records take up a full screen here. We can shorten this down to whatever we'd like, but let's go with 15. So we can say pageable is true, and then we can say page size is 15. So we're going to page this, and then we're going to show 15 records at a time. It's really easy to do, and then if we save this again and go back, when the page reloads here, you'll notice we still have some scroll bars. We might want to pull this back a couple more records just so we don't have to scroll down to see the pager. But now paging is handled completely by the grid. I don't have to write any special code to do it. I just have to set that flag on. I also have different themes here. You might notice this is the material UI theme. You can set those themes very easily through just one CSS file, or if you're using the Sass, you just grab the version of the theme that you'd like. You can see that in my index HTML file here, I've got the Telerik UI uses the Kendo themes. So I've got Kendo theme material. I can easily change this theme to Bootstrap or the default theme and customize it from there. So we've got our pager, we've got the material theme. Let's make this pager just a little bit shorter so we can see it in one view here. We can go back to our index page here and just kind of tweak the size of this. We'll pull this back to 10 records instead, which actually I believe is the default size for this as well. But just to show you, we have complete control there over what the page size is. We have 500 items here that we're showing in a pageable way. So it's a lot easier for us to navigate through this data. Let's talk about filtering for a minute. So we can set filter mode. There we go. So filter mode to grid filter mode. We can set this to menu or row. I generally like the menu approach here. So we'll go ahead and set that to filter. We'll show the difference between menu and row in just a second. But if I set that flag and come back, you'll see I have these filtering UI bits here now. And I didn't have to write any special code to do it. You can customize the filtering if you really need to. But for the most part, just setting that flag is going to get you where you need to be with filtering on a column. So I can come in here and say, give me all of the temperatures that are equal to, we can say less than 0. So we can pull all the negative temperatures out and look at all of those. Screech Rat, welcome. Welcome to the show. Just showing off the basics here today of the Telerik UI Blazor Data Grid. We've got the web-worthy hackathon still in progress, and no pun intended. And we're expecting some apps to be built to showcase or to utilize. And we have like a category of best use of Telerik UI for Blazor. So I'm trying to show some tips here on the Telerik UI Data Grid that you might be able to use very quickly to help you manage your user experience for showing a data set. So filtering, just simply enabling that by a property. We have a column here. This is a really good opportunity for something that I can show you next. So we're going to have to actually change the filter type here, or change the column type before I can do that, but I'll show you something in just a second. Let's look at that row filter very quickly before we do that. So I'm going to be stepping this back to show the difference. So this is a little bit more verbose in my opinion, but they have different uses. So this gives us a nice, quick, easy way to tick up and down the data, the filter data, and it's doing this through contextually aware filtering in the data grid. So we are, with our component, we know that this is a numeric data type. So we're giving you the UI components for a number to be entered in there. We can display the date here as well, and notice it drops down a calendar. So we can filter the date of these, which I think they're all today, so it's not going to show anything special, but I can clear that filter just as easy. So we have these different filtering mechanisms, and depending on what your data is like, you might like one over another. I kind of prefer the filter menu type, and we'll customize this a little bit more in just a second. So I'm going to save that one. And now let's talk a little bit about adding custom columns here, because you can see I'm dumping all of the data straight out to the page. Maybe I don't want to show that ID column. Maybe that's only being used for editing operations, that sort of thing. So let's go remove this ID column. Before I do that, I need to specify, because we're going to have to turn off the automatic column generation to do this. So I need to tell the data grid that I don't want to show this, but I also inversely have to tell it I do want to show all of these. I have to be explicit about the ones I do want to show at that point. So I'm going to take off auto generate columns true. And I'm going to need to open up this component tag so I can access some of the child components that we're going to need. So we'll open this Telerik Data Grid tag up. So we need an ending tag here. And then inside of the tag, let's bring this back down so the editor quits jumping around. We'll say grid columns. And inside here, I can specify all of the columns I want to show. So I'll say grid column. And then let's look back at our data real quick. I want to show date, temperature, summary. We have two temperatures, by the way. Writing these explicitly will let us reorder these in code as well. Let's see here. We will do a date column. So I'm going to say grid column. Oops, sorry, I already have a grid column. Grid column, and then I want to show the date. So I want the field to be date of forecast. Oh, my mistake here. It is this is a string that points to the property name. So I can just say date here, and it will use this string to find the property of the data that I want to show. Go ahead and save that real quick. We should just have a date column, nothing else but a date column. So it's using date to find that property in our object and display the date there. I can also use, this is C#, so I can make this a little bit more intelligent. If I ever were to change the name of that property, I don't want that string to fail. So I can make it a little more fail-safe. The compiler will now catch this if I do it this way. I can use the name of operator here, and I can say forecast, weather forecast dot date. Notice I've got IntelliSense here providing a list of properties now because I'm using that name of operator, and I can find that date property through it. And that's going to give me the same output. So I still have my date column there. We need to add a couple more columns. I'm going to bring this end column up. We're going to use some more child components within that in just a minute, so I'm going to leave that an open tag. So we'll add another grid column. Actually, now that we have this grid column specified, we can just copy this and paste it a few times. So we don't have to keep typing this all out. This will make it a whole lot easier. And then we just need to specify the other pieces of data. And we can thumb through these with the IntelliSense feature in Visual Studio, if that's what we're using. You can do this in Visual Studio Code as well. But we'll grab the summary. I'm going to pull up the properties here again. And we'll grab temperature in C, and we'll grab temperature in F as well. So we've got our 4 columns that we want to show, and we're omitting the ID column. We can still access the data from the ID column in templates, even if it's not defined as a grid column, because the grid itself is aware of all the objects and all the properties that are in the data set. Just as a little heads up. So I'll save that and come back. And now we have the ID column dropped. And we can move through these with our paging again, and sorting is still available. And I want to tweak my sorting, filtering and sorting menu here. the filtering menu. I don't have sorting enabled yet. We'll have to put that on next. That's really easy as well. So for filtering, this type of filter works really good for this set of temperatures, where I can come in and say, give me everything that is less than 0, and it will give me all of the negative numbers. On this side, I've got a summary, and the summary is pretty consistent. It's about 5 different values here: scorching, bracing, chilly, hot, balmy, freezing, sweltering. That's about it. There's warm in there as well. So it's, 6 to 8 values in there. There's a much better filter than having somebody type out an entire word to see if it's containing or matching one of those strings. So you make this a lot more user-friendly by coming into the grid and adding a filter menu. Let's see here, filter menu type. I can say filter menu type. Make sure I get the right syntax here. Filter menu type. There we go. I want a checkbox list instead of that regular filter menu. So on just this one column, I can customize the filtering type. And when I save that and come back, let's make sure this refreshed, and we should see, nope, it has not. So let's double check and see. Let's make it save again, and hopefully it reloads. There we go. I put it on the wrong column. My mistake. I put it on the date column. I want it on the summary column. So let's move back here. We'll cut that filter out and put it into the summary column. And what's nice here is if I go back now that I've got it on the right place, I'm going to hit the filter and check out what we have now. So instead of having the user manually type in what they think they want to see in that filter, they can just come in here and click on cool, hit filter, and there are all of the items. This is super helpful if you're doing an app that has like a product management portal where you're trying to sort groups of products, and maybe you want to filter those down. We can also do grouping, by the way. We could group these instead, but this is a nice way to filter by multiple items even. Notice we didn't sort these though. We need to throw some sorting on there real quick. So let's go back up to the main section of the data grid where it's declared here, and just throw some sorting on there. So let's say sortable is true. So we'll throw sorting on. We come back, and now if we hover over, you can see. Let's do the filter first. We'll check out our filter options, and then we'll go ahead and sort those out. Now they're ordered by freezing, and as we pan through, they're sweltering. We also have a new feature that I wanted to show today, and we have on our display here, let's go back to the visual portion of it. We have temperature in C, temperature F, okay? So these are both temperatures, but they are in their respective columns. What I want to do is put a label above these and kind of group them into a column that is just temperature. So these are both temperatures. I want to say temp, and then I want, so this is going to be temp, and then I'll have C and F below in their own respective columns. So this is a brand new feature, and this is really cool. I like this. It lets you make more intuitive grids. We're going to have a grid column. And let's see if I can do this off the top of my head here. This is going to be a title. The title is going to be temperature. And then inside of the grid column, we have let's see, I might have to jump back to docs. This is brand new. We just released this today. So let me make sure I'm getting the syntax right here. So I'm going to go to docs.telerik.com, which is a perfect place to find demos of all this stuff that we're looking at. Make sure we're on the Blazor product. And then if you look, and there's these little green cards that are everywhere that show you something's been updated or added in this release. On the data grid, we have multi-column headers. That's what they're called. And this is what we're going to add here, is this nice column header. And to do that, if we click on View Source, I need, let's see, it should be, grid column, a title, and then columns. Maybe I didn't pluralize it. That's why I'm not getting it. Columns. And no, it's still not finding it. So let me double check and make sure. I thought I updated this before I started the show, but nope, it did not. It did not update. So this needs to be on version 2.4 and hit update again. I know I did this earlier. Accept the license agreement. Let's go back now. There it goes. Thank you, Nougat. It resolved the package this time. How much are Telerik controls for Windows 10 x64? So that would be a question more of what platform for Windows. There's UWP, WPF. We have open source UWP controls. If you're doing desktop development, you're going to want to look under desktop components at telerik.com. Pick the platform you want. Depending on the platform, prices are going to be different. So you want to check into that. And then also if you're deploying web to the desktop, it's different. Web components. So if you're looking for the web, there is Telerik UI for Blazor. That's the newest framework from Microsoft on .NET. That's what we're working with today. I try not to get too much into pricing and licensing because those things can vary depending on your organization and what your needs are. But I would suggest we can get you in touch with a rep if you want to talk to a rep. The base price, though, if we go to where is this at? There we go. Pricing. These are base prices. There are different support levels that you can look at as well. These are per developer. So this is not like per project. This is per developer, which is actually really nice. I used these a long time before I started working at Progress. I was actually a customer for 6+ years. What you do is you buy a license for your developer. They can work on as many projects as they want with it. This is really great if you're working as a consultant and you have multiple customers that we're using this to build product for. And then this is kind of a subscription model. You do pay less each year. You renew it. So this price is the upfront price. It's going to be roughly, I don't know. I think it can't take me take the prices I'm giving you here as gospel, but it is roughly 40% less, something like that, to renew each year. If you don't renew, your product doesn't stop working. It keeps working at the version that you stopped paying at. So that renewal cost gets you the new versions of the product and support, and continues your support contract. So it's a very easy thing to, it was, for me anyway, easy thing to justify the time that I saved, and my productivity levels were just so much faster because I can do things like I'm showing here, just turning on some flags for features that are code that our team wrote at Progress, that saved me a lot of time as a developer, as a customer, that I didn't have to go write sorting algorithms and paging and worry about how to update the pager when you have, for example, On the data grid, you know, when I get up to 10 records, this pager doesn't just keep going off into outer space. And we even have, if we throw the filtering off of this, you'll see it even better. We have like the ... more pages. Like this is all just built right in, and we don't have to think about these things. And it's just so much easier to get work done and solve the business needs than it is to kind of reinvent the wheel and build UI components from scratch yourself. So it was a big cost savings for me. Hopefully you guys find that as well. So we were looking at the data grid here. Great question, by the way. Thank you for that. Hopefully I said stuff that helped. Again, make sure you contact somebody, or we can get you in contact with somebody in sales. Those, you know, depending on your organization, those prices, you know, there's group discounts and things that can be applied to it. So make sure you get to talk to someone. So what we want to do is throw a column header up above these two and just say temperature. So we'll do temperature, and then we need to move these two grid columns within this section here. And now I think this is all I need. Again, this just released today, so if I get this wrong, don't shoot the messenger here. Now we have a temperature header up here. I think I did this right. Pretty sure that's how it should look. Let's see. Let's go back to our example, and it looks like they put some additional ones in there to take up that white space so it doesn't have kind of this weird headspace that I've got. So we can throw another grid column in there just to kind of organize that a little bit better. We'll throw a grid column, and then we just need a title on it. That's going to be... we'll just call it meta for now. I don't know what else you might call these, but this is just kind of a rough example. Your use case is probably going to be much different. It's going to be products or people or, you know, employees, whatever you're managing with these data grids. So we'll throw columns on there, and then we just need to take these columns and move them into that section. And now they'll have a nice top-level header like that one did. So that white space should go away. There we go. That looks a little more organized. I think we can leave that off as well if we want it to just take up that space there. We could just do an empty string up here, and I think that will do just about the same thing. There we go. Just leaves that divider up there, makes it look a little bit nicer. So you can organize these and say temperature, and then we have our temperature in C and F there. And now that we have that temperature at the top, we really don't even need the word temperature in all of those. So I can come in here and say title, and I can just say, I can say degrees in C, and then I don't like to type, so we'll copy and paste that one below, and we'll say that is degrees in F, and that's going to give us a lot better looking UI. You could see how this might be really handy with reporting like sales data or financial data. Financial services stuff, really good way to utilize that header. Nick, the first one, welcome. We're just digging into the Telerik UI for Blazor Data Grid. Showing off one of the brand new features here is this top-level header. How do we multi-column headers? This is something that customers asked for when we were building Kendo UI for jQuery, I believe. Customers really wanted this way to segregate data and put it into buckets with these multi-level headers. So this is a really nice feature that's in Telerik UI for Blazor now. So that's really easy to enable. We just nest some components just a little bit deeper, and we're able to give them titles and display those. Let's see, what else do we have up our sleeve here? We turned on sorting and filtering. Let's throw grouping on there as well. So if we want to group these things, we just say groupable is true, just like all the other stuff that we turned on. If we go back and our page reloads, we get this column that says drag a column here to group by that column. So I can come into my summary column and just drag and drop that up on this area of the UI, and now I have my my group here. These groups are pretty big, so you're not seeing them. There we go. There's one where 2 groups are visible at the same time. So we have grouping enabled out of the box as well. And those groups can be collapsed, and our sorting and filtering still works there as well. Can I make the main header out bold? Says Marcus, voice programmer. Let me double check on that. So in a normal grid column, I can customize this completely. I'm not... This is a brand new feature. You're throwing a curveball at me. Let me see. Yeah, Nick, this is a commercial library. There's a 30-day free trial, though, if you want to check it out. Let me see if I can throw a template in here. To bold that, I think I would need a template. I might be able to use CSS as well, but actually, is it already bold? Before I dive into this too far, let's see what the computed style says. Font weight, it's already bold. So I'm going to take that as can we customize this here. Let me check out our docs real quick. Again, we just released this. Well, you can set all the parameters. It only supports the title and the nested header template and column tags. Let me see if there is an example of customization. I don't see that it's customizable just yet. But again, like, this is the first time I've been able to actually use it in production. You can manage some of that stuff through CSS, though. If that is all you want to change, I'd probably go through CSS first, just because it's easier. So we've got K title. It's highlighting th.ktitle as our fonts. So if we were to grab that and say font weight bold, and again, it's already bold, I think. Let's see if we can do color red. There we go. We can change all the colors to red if we want. Excuse me. This is CSS, my friends. Just CSS handles a lot of these problems for us. So we can close that off. You see I highlighted it in red and I changed the position of it. If we added that style to our style sheets, we could override these behaviors. This is completely customizable through styles. We can do templates as well with this. I'm not going to try to pronounce that name. It's hard to get these Twitch names just right, but I'll say hello back. Welcome to the show. Welcome. Lots of folks showing up here. Hello. So we're doing some Telerik UI for Blazor today. We're checking out the Blazor Data Grid. If you haven't seen it before, it's very productive. We've got about 15 minutes left here. Let's look at some customization really quick. So we've got this date column. The date is kind of this long date. Let's show real quick how we can customize this field. So inside of each grid column, we can specify a template. And this is using the Blazor component architecture. So it's really easy to specify these templates. They are just going to be either HTML and Razor markup or other UI components. So we can throw literally charts and graphs and stuff inside of that. But I want to customize this date out to display this just a little bit differently. The first thing I want to do is I need to get the value of it. So inside of our template, we need to grab the context of this item and cast it properly. The Telerik Grid is generic, so we need to make sure that Blazor understands that this is going to be a weather forecast item. We'll just call it F here. It's going to be a really closed loop of code, so we don't need to get too explicit with what this is going to be. We'll say weather forecast of F is going to be, we'll take weather forecast and we'll cast the context to a weather forecast item. So again, this context is going to be generic. You can see it's an object. So we need to tell Blazor what the grid is using as far as that object is concerned. We can use the T item as well, I believe here. T item actually needs to go up a level on the grid column. We could also do T item. No, can't do it there. T item gets messy. I'm trying to remember where that belongs, but you have to specify it way too much. So this is just a much easier way to do it where you need the template. Is the grid responsive? For example, can you hide a certain column or change the styling of elements on mobile, for example? This is something that is not baked in as a feature yet. But it is something that is relatively easy to do with the components because we have a new component for doing media queries. And I can show that next. We have plenty of time for that. So that's a great question, DEO3. We'll do that next. Let's do this weather forecast example real quick, the date example. So I'm going to take the... why is there it goes. Took a second for the template to catch up. So now we have F is our weather forecast, and then we'll grab, again, notice I have my ID there, so that is still available to us as well, but we can say to short date string, and we can format that string however we want. Formatting something, maybe that's not the best use of a template, but the point here is this could be an image tag, this could be an icon, this could be a chart. You could put anything you want inside of this template region, not just format something the way I just did. So if we come back, you'll notice it's dropped that UTC date down and made it just a short date string. And you can also do localization, globalization, all that stuff too. So if we wanted to take this and change it, that was a really good question. I love responsive web questions. So as we drop this down, you'll notice that the columns do get kind of cramped. It is responsive in the way that it can handle the resize. They're resizing these appropriately. They're not like hard-coded widths, which can happen, but we could force it. But they're kind of shrinking down at a percentage. That's somewhat responsive, but that is not what you asked. So let's get to the question that was actually asked. So we have a new component. This is a really fun one. I like this. At runtime, we can do media queries, which give us a little bit more leverage over just basic CSS. So I can say Telerik media query, and then I need to specify the media query. And I'm going to try to remember it's screen and is it screen and media? And then I got to look this one up. I always forget the media queries. Let's do this one. Bootstrap has media queries listed out right here. And I guess I don't need the screen part anymore. Let's do a couple of these, actually. Let's take the small. We'll do something with the small. And then we'll take the tablet and up. So these are going to trigger, let's see here. Let me get this stubbed out real quick and I'll explain. We'll duplicate that one, make sure we've got 2 of these. So right now I've just specified 2 media queries. This one is going to be a small screen size. So if it is below 776 pixels, we'll trigger that one. And then we've got another one that's going to trigger when it is above a medium size. So now we need to set kind of a Boolean flag up on this. So we can say bool is small and up. And then we'll have another one that's bool is medium and up. And then we need to set these values when the screen size changes. So if I say on change, and just write a nice little snippet of code here, and we'll say this is going to be the true or false value, whether it was matched. If it matches this media query, we'll run a function that says that is small is equal to the matched value. That will toggle this for us. Got to get my parentheses in the right place. There we go. And then we'll just simply grab that same code and we'll paste it down here. Does not exist. Oops, I need the up portion. Small and up. This is medium and up. So now these are going to toggle whenever my screen size changes. Okay, so I can go back up here and let's see, what do I want to turn off? Let's take the summary field off whenever we're on a certain screen size. So this is kind of hard to do with the limited amount of data that we have, but the question from DEO3 was, can we, for example, remove a column if we're on like a mobile device? So maybe we'll want to take off the summary, and maybe the user can kind of infer from the temperature whether it's going to be hot or not. So maybe that's unnecessary data, but it's nice to have data if we've got the screen real estate for it. So inside this column, I can say visible, and I can say is smaller up. So if it's above that small size, let's see, did I get that right? No, I want to do medium, I think. Sorry, medium. Is medium. I might not need the small one. We can say is medium and up. And we have 4 columns. If we drag this down to 3 columns, notice we're missing a column now. Okay, so after we break over that medium breakpoint, that column now appears because we're telling it to be visible when this is media. I misspelled the heck out of that one. Is medium. M-E-D-I-U-M. Medium. Boy, that was really bad. So correct those misspellings. When this is medium or up screen size, it's visible. Then it's going to go to false when we cross back over that threshold. So we can enable some responsive behaviors. Yes, they're not enabled out of the box yet. That's something we're looking into, looking for customer feedback on those things as well. So you all can help out there. But we do have that that capability in the tool set. So we have this media query component. Now let's do one more really cool thing. We're running kind of short on time, but I can spare a few more minutes here. Because this one, I'm going to take this to another extreme. I'm not sure I got this media query right. I think I want to flip this one on its head. Let's see. I want to do, if this is, I want to make sure this is a small device. And what I can do here is, let's write these out. Let's see when these are going to trigger. So we'll just simply do this and say is small and up and is medium and up. IntelliSense isn't working with me here. Is medium and up. Let's see when these get written out. We'll just write them straight out to the screen at the bottom. So they're both true right now. They're both false here. That one went true. This one's still false. So they are doing what I thought they would do. Okay. So this first one's going to tell me when the screen is mobile. So this is our smallest size. And then what I want to do is when these are both, let's put that back for a second. So when this is all the way small as we can possibly get, this small one is false. So when that one's false, let's change the complete rendering of this. Let's not do a data grid. So this is an interesting idea that you might be able to use. So what we can do is say if is small, is not small or larger. So if this is false, we're going to display something else. And then when we hit an appropriate screen size to show a data grid, minus a column, when we're on a tablet size, we'll show the data grid minus a column. When we're on the desktop, we'll include all of the columns. So let's try this so far. Did this save out and refresh? I think it may have. There we go. So notice when I'm on mobile now, I have nothing. Absolutely nothing. And then, so I have 3 columns, then I have 4 columns, and I'm desktop. Okay? So let's go back one more time here. Let's specify something else. We have another brand new component that I get to show off thanks to DEO3. So let's go to demos.telerik.com. We'll go over to Blazor Demos. And then we will grab the brand new card component. Let's see, let's look at layouts here. We can do a deck, a list, or a group. I think I want list. Yeah, that's what I want. So we want the card list. Let's view the source for that one. So we want to copy this and one of these components here. And then we can kind of fill in the blanks from the demo. So we've got our Telerik card, and then we need to end some tags here. So we've got a div that we'll throw there that matches up with this one. This container class is the one that I just chose from this drop down. So I want K card list in this container. So K card list. And this is going to list the cards vertically. And then we've got a flex center here. And then we're giving it a width of 300. So card title, we need a for each around these cards. So we'll say at for each. And then we'll say for each forecast in forecasts. Okay. So we've got our forecast collection back in scope here for every card that we're going to render. So we can say the title is going to be forecast. We'll throw the date on there. The subtitle. This is all completely customizable, by the way. This might not be the most ideal UI, but we're trying to do this on the fly real quick. We'll say summary here. We could show images. We don't have an image, so I'm going to drop the image here under the card body. Maybe we'll take the subtitle off and we'll throw the card body down here, and we'll just throw the summary in that. This is, again, it's just an example of something that can be done. We'll take those extra divs off and that subtitle out of there. And I don't think we need any actions. We don't need any buttons for this. Maybe we want to share it or something. Let's throw something back on there. We'll throw a share button in here. Who knows what we might want to have. So let's go back to our grid, and I've got a blank page for some reason. So either here we go, loading, and I've got an exception of some kind. So I might just have broken something. I feel like there's an infinite loop going on. I can't quite get a browser tool up. I know what it might be. So let's do a little branch here just to make sure we have data. So we'll do a if forecasts. I think this is null is what the problem is not null. Then we will for each over it. And that should fix the error. So experience is telling me I have a null in here somewhere. And I really wish the browser would have done that way earlier. It's popping up a message there for me. And I think it crashed my browser when it did that. So let's go back. We'll rerun our watch command now that our error is fixed, I hope. And here we go. And no, there's still an error in here. Let's see what kind of exception we're getting. So this is all user error. Whatever I did, it doesn't like. Object of type grid column does not have property matching child content. Yeah, I don't know what this just did. Bear with me for 1 second. I need to troubleshoot this one. I think I broke the IntelliSense here, or the compiler. I don't know why columns went away all of a sudden. This might just be a simple Blazor thing. Let's try real quick. I'm going to drop the app, and believe it or not, let's just try saving Visual Studio and closing it out and reloading it. I think an error's caught in the system is not flushing itself out. So there's components that exist, but it's saying it doesn't have them in context. So it seems like the compiler needs to get caught up with the new code. Sometimes doing a little refresh of Visual Studio will get those bugs out of the system. All right, let's see if the compiler catches back up again. Projects are reloading. All right, so my false error has gone away. So maybe I can actually troubleshoot the thing that's really happening now. So we'll pull our comments off. And again, I've got a null check in here now. We're going to for each over some cards and display some data. It should be pretty simple and straightforward, providing that the demo gods are going to work with me now. Now Visual Studio's crashing. There we go. It's back. So we need to, let's do a Control F5. That might be a little bit easier since we're about out of time here. I'm going to try to join C# Fritz here in just a few minutes. Let's drop this down. There we go. Now it transitioned over. So DEO3, if you're still watching, now I have, I didn't put any temperatures in. That probably would have been a little bit better if I would have included temperatures. We'll go back and put the temperatures over. So in our summary here, let's add down at the bottom. We can do a P forecast. We can do temperature in C, and then we'll duplicate, and then we'll say temp C. Let's see if I can remember this one off the top of my head. It's ampersand DEG for degree, and then we'll do the same thing on here, temp F ampersand DEG and escape code. Make sure I change this one over to Fahrenheit. Let's go ahead. Yeah, that'll work. So if I recompile that one, I don't have my watch running anymore. That seemed to have broken some things for a minute. We'll come over here and rerun this, and there we go. So it's hot, and we have a temperature of 38 and 100. Should the C come before F? I don't know. I don't know. This is a quick, just a quick demo. I'm not trying to be super accurate with it, but just shows you what kind of capabilities we can have with this. And then I can even this back to a to short date string. Shorten that up. Oh, it's degrees C. All right, you got me. We'll move those. We'll make that proper so we don't make people want to reach through the screen and change it themselves. Let's see here. We'll rebuild one more time. Again, my watch died, so we got to rebuild manually here, but there we go. So we've got that. You can see for a brief moment here these false flags coming up as it loads data in. What I would do in this scenario is I would add one more component in here. We can have a Telerik loader container, and we need to set this to have a visible value. So we'll have a loader visible on this page. And the easiest way to do this, there's better ways, but the easiest way just to get this out the door would be to say forecasts. Sorry, we need a set of braces on this because it's going to be forecasts equals null. When the forecast is null, we'll show a loading container. And then what I would do, let's see if we, I need to rebuild. Let's take these flags off, not make them visible anymore. We'll build this out one more time. And then as this page loads in, you can see a loader pop up. If you didn't see that, maybe we can throw a more delay on it. Await task dot delay, and then we'll delay for 2 seconds. 2 seconds is probably a long time, huh? 500 milliseconds is probably noticeable enough that we can do this successfully and see the loader come up. If you have a long loading animation come up, or a loading task, so there's our loader, we're loading the items, they pop up, and we can scroll through on a mobile device. This is nice and friendly. By the way, if we wanted to have the list, if we've still got DEO3 out there, if you want to show this and still have, see how we're scrolling again through all of the records? What you could do is, and I don't think I have time for this. I need to get going here. I've got another show coming up. But if we go to demos.telerik.com, what you could do is wrap, instead of using a for each on those items. It's a really great question, by the way. This is a lot of fun. I can use a list view component instead, and the list view has the pager in it. So list view is very similar to the data grid, except all of the content within it is going to be custom. So we could throw in, let's throw the header template away. We don't need a header template. And then we could say list view, instead of the data, is going to be forecasts. See if I can do this really fast. Forecasts. Then we don't need the null check, and we don't need the for each loop. Using a variable before it's declared. I don't know how that's supposed to be. Maybe I need an end tag. Let's take this and add a end tag here, list view, and then we need a template. And I think I broke my compiler again. It's throwing fits one more time. Oh, here we go. Template T item. Why am I getting no T items today? T item. There we go. Weather forecast. Let's see if that. And then context is forecast. There we go. That should clear out the squiggles. So I just took that for each loop and replaced it with a tree list view. So no more for each. This is going to for each for us. Let's change that page size up a little bit. We can stand a little more than 5 items. And then if we go back, let's see if I did this right. That was pretty fast coding there on a short time budget. There's a little container that we could probably do away with, but when we get to the bottom, we have the pager. It's a little bit wonky. I probably need to adjust some values here to get this just right, but you get the idea, I think. Yeah, I might need to adjust my pager template or something, or figure out how to get the pager to look better. But we could also lazy load these. That actually would be better, I think, for mobile than the pager. We could do... I'm not sure if I'm thinking of the data grid or not. Load on demand. That's what I want. So we could do this instead. This would be better than showing a pager UI, but do load on demand. So basically, when I hit the end of the page, we're going to virtualize this, and it would just be like an infinite scroller. That's what I would actually recommend instead of the pager. So when we hit the end of the page, it loads 10 more records. So you could take and swap that out. You can also adjust these to where they're full screen. So we could just say, instead of 300 pixels, 100%. Let me take the pager off of there. That didn't quite work the way I thought it would. So we'd throw load on demand in here, which I definitely don't have time to do, but it's not too crazy to do that. Also, you can wrap these two things up in a component now. You could say that this is my tree list view, weather forecast tree list view. This is my data grid tree list view. And this entire page would only be this much markup. So we'd compartmentalize these into components. That would make this look a whole lot more palatable from a developer perspective. And then once we have that done, we would have a display that looks like this now. That looks a lot better. And then the scrolling, again, load on demand would just pull these in as we hit the end of the page. So that would be a lot cooler. And then if we span back out, we've got our weather forecast columns that adjust per our device. So we threw some responsive in there at the last second. It was a good challenge. I like the question. I've got to run. I hope to be on. I've got a tentative schedule with C# Fritz to do some dashboard development over on his channel. Let's check and see if he's streaming real quick. And if he's already in progress on something, we can jump over. If not, I will see you shortly on his channel. Just give me 1 sec so I can check his live feed and see if he is online. So it doesn't look like he's online yet. I will share a link to his show so you can find us later. We should be on in a little bit. We have a tentative for this afternoon. So if you're not already a fan of C# Fritz, make sure you check out his channel. Hit follow, and that'll just notify you when we do go live this afternoon or when he goes online next. So it was great having you all for a fun Blazor Power Hour focused on the Telerik Data Grid. Good luck with your web-worthy hackathon challenges, and hopefully you learned a couple things here that you can take back to your project. We covered not only the data grid, but the brand new card component and the brand new not template. I'm trying to read. My brain is reading temperature. The column header feature, the multi-column header feature, and the brand new media query component. So we got a bunch of them in here. We ran a little bit over an hour, so it's the Blazor hour and 20 minutes, power hour and 20 minutes. I don't know. But we will see you soon over on Jeff's channel, and good luck with your projects. Bye-bye.